The stars had never seemed so close. Captain Lee Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel paint the viewscreen. After 200 years of dreaming, humanity had finally broken free from its solar system. The ship hummed with energy as it sliced through space, carrying the hopes of 8 billion people back on Earth. "Coming out of FTL in 30 seconds, announced Park Minji from the engineering station. Her fingers danced across the controls, monitoring every system with practiced precision. She had spent 5 years building the engine that made this journey possible, and she treated it like her own child. Jinwoo nodded and straightened his uniform. Beside him, Choi Daeun adjusted his diplomatic credentials for the 100th time. The young officer had trained his entire life for this moment, studying every theory about alien contact that humanity had ever conceived. Now those theories would finally be tested. The ship shuddered as it dropped back into normal space. The view screen cleared, revealing a sight that took everyone's breath away. A massive space station hung in the darkness, shaped like a twisted crystal that caught and reflected light from the nearby star. Hundreds of ships moved around it, designs that no human had ever imagined. They had found it. They had found proof that humanity was not alone. "We're being hailed," reported Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo from communications. His voice was steady despite the excitement. "They're using our own radio frequencies. Someone taught them our language." "Put it through," Jinwoo ordered. A face appeared on the screen, and the bridge crew gasped. The alien had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and its skin shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water. When it spoke, the translator had no trouble rendering the words into Korean. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are the Valthrex Consortium. We have been watching your world for many years, waiting for you to join us among the stars. Your arrival brings us great joy." The words seemed friendly, but something in the alien's tone made Jinwoo uneasy. He pushed the feeling aside. This was too important to let paranoia ruin. "On behalf of humanity, we thank you for your welcome," Jinwoo replied. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." "And you shall have both," the alien said. "Please dock at our station. We have much to discuss." The next 3 weeks felt like a dream. The Valthrex showed the human delegation wonders beyond imagination. They offered technology that could cure diseases, increase crop yields, and provide clean energy forever. Ambassador Kong Sujin arrived from Earth with authority to negotiate trade agreements, and the Valthrex seemed eager to help humanity prosper. But Kim Hyun-woo could not shake his suspicions. He spent his free time analyzing the Valthrex communications, looking for patterns that might reveal their true intentions. What he found made his blood run cold. "Captain, you need to see this," Kim said, requesting a private meeting in Jinwoo's quarters. He laid out data streams on the table, encrypted files that he had managed to decode. "The Valthrex have been scanning our ship constantly. They're mapping every system, every weapon, every defensive capability. But it's more than that. Look at these coordinates." Jinwoo studied the numbers and felt his stomach drop. "Those are Earth's defense satellites. And our colony on Mars and the mining stations around Jupiter," Kim confirmed. "They're building a complete tactical database. This isn't normal diplomatic intelligence gathering. This is preparation for war. Are you certain?" Jinwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. His instincts had been right all along. "I've triple-checked everything," Kim said. "There's more. I found references to something called the Territorial Acquisition Protocol. From what I can piece together, the Valthrex have a law that lets them claim any planet if the species living there doesn't have what they call established galactic recognition. And to get that recognition, you need to control territory outside your home system and have it acknowledged by the galactic community." "But we just got here," Jinwoo said. We have no territory except Earth. Exactly, Kim replied. I think they've been waiting for us to develop FTL travel, just so they could do this legally. Under their laws, Earth is unclaimed territory. Jinwoo immediately called for an emergency meeting with Ambassador Kang and the senior staff. Minji nearly broke her datapad when she heard the news, while Daeyeon's face went pale. Kang listened to everything with growing horror. We need to warn Earth, Kang said. If the Valthrex are planning to invade, they won't call it an invasion, Kim interrupted. They'll call it legal annexation. And from what I've seen, they have the military power to enforce their claim. How much time do we have? Jinwoo asked. Unknown. But I'd guess not much. Why waste resources hosting us if they weren't ready to move? Jinwoo made his decision. Minji, start prep for immediate departure. We're leaving tonight. Kang, send a coded message to Earth through the quantum relay. Tell them everything. Kim, I need you to copy every piece of Valthrex data you can access without triggering their security. If we're going to fight them, we need to know what we're up against. They moved quickly and quietly, but the Valthrex were watching. As the Horizon's Edge began its departure sequence, alarms blared across the station. The friendly masks came off, revealing the predators beneath. Human vessel, you are ordered to power down and return to dock, the Valthrex commander said, his voice no longer warm. By the authority of the consortium and under the Territorial Acquisition Protocol, the planet known as Earth and all its colonies are hereby declared contested territory pending annexation proceedings. Like hell they are, Jinwoo growled. Minji, get us out of here. Full speed. The ship lurched as Minji pushed the engines to their limits. Valthrex fighters launched from the station, their weapons charging. The Horizon's Edge had no military weapons, only basic defensive shields. They would not survive a prolonged fight. Entering FTL in 5 seconds, Minji announced, her voice tight with concentration. 4.3.2. A blast struck their rear shields, making the entire ship shake. Warning lights flashed across every console. Then the familiar shimmer of faster-than-light travel enveloped them, and they were gone, racing back toward Earth with news that would change humanity's future forever. Behind them, the Valthrex fleet began to move. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, and their intentions clear. They would follow the humans home, and they would take what they believed was rightfully theirs under their own twisted laws. The war for humanity's survival had begun, and Earth did not even know it yet. Jinwoo stared at the viewscreen, watching the stars blur past, and wondered if his warning would arrive in time. He thought about his family and soul, his sister's children, who would never know freedom if the Valthrex won. He thought about every human who had ever dreamed of the stars, never imagining that the galaxy would be filled with those who saw them as nothing more than resources to exploit. How long until we reach Earth? He asked quietly. 6 days at maximum speed, Minji replied. But the Valthrex will arrive in 4. Jinwoo closed his eyes and prayed that Earth's defenses would be enough. Deep down, he knew they would not be. The alarms woke Admiral Song Taeyong from the first decent sleep he had gotten in weeks. He rolled out of bed in his quarters aboard the defense station orbiting Earth, already pulling on his uniform before his mind fully processed what was happening. The red emergency lights told him everything he needed to know. They had arrived. Status report, Song demanded as he rushed onto the command deck. Valthrex fleet detected at the edge of the solar system, reported the tactical officer. 200 ships, military class. They're moving toward Earth in standard blockade formation. Song felt his chest tighten. Earth's entire defense fleet consisted of 43 ships, built for police work and asteroid mining, not war. They had known this moment was coming ever since the Horizon's Edge sent its warning 6 days ago. But knowing and seeing were different things. Deploy all available vessels, Song ordered, and get me a line to the president. On Earth below, panic had already begun. The news channels showed crowds gathering in cities across the planet, some praying, others demanding action, many simply standing in shock. Humanity had reached for the stars with open hands, and the stars had reached back with closed fists. The horizon's edge limped into Earth orbit, its engines damaged from the desperate flight home. Captain Jinwoo had barely docked before he was summoned to an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. He stood before representatives from every nation, all looking at him like he held the answers they needed. "Can we negotiate?" The Secretary General asked. Her voice was steady, but Jinwoo could see the fear in her eyes. "They don't want to negotiate," Jinwoo replied. "They want to own us. Under their laws, we're not people. We're unclaimed property." "Then we fight," said the Chinese premier. "With what?" The American president asked. "Our weapons are toys compared to theirs." "Then we make better toys," said a new voice. Dr. Yoon Seo-jin stepped forward, a scientist who had been studying the data that Kim Hyun-woo had stolen from the Valthrax station. "I've been analyzing their technology. It's more advanced than ours. Yes, but it's also predictable. They rely on computers for everything. Their weapons, their shields, their tactics. It's all algorithmic. They calculate the most efficient solution and execute it. And that helps us how?" asked the Russian premier. "Because humans don't think like that," Yoon explained. "We're creative. We make mistakes, but we also see possibilities that pure logic misses. I've found weaknesses in their systems, gaps that exist because their computers can't imagine someone would be crazy enough to exploit them." "Show us." Song said. The demonstration happened 3 days later at the Mars colony. Commander Nam Haijin had received orders to evacuate, but she refused. She had 2,000 civilians and 150 defenders. If Mars fell without a fight, Earth would be next. The Valthrex sent 12 ships, more than enough to overwhelm the colony's defenses. They followed their standard attack pattern, establishing a perimeter and preparing to bombard the defensive installations. Nam watched them from her command center, deep beneath the Martian soil. "They're positioning exactly where Dr. Yoon predicted," her tactical officer reported. "Good," Nam said. She felt calm, which surprised her. Perhaps this was what acceptance felt like. Activate the mines. The Martian surface erupted as dozens of old mining explosives detonated simultaneously. The Valthrex shields held against the blasts, exactly as expected. But the explosions threw up massive clouds of iron-rich dust, creating electromagnetic interference that blocked their sensors. Now, Nam ordered, the colony's defenders launched every missile they had, not at the Valthrex ships, but at the dust clouds. The missiles carried no explosives. Instead, they released packages of metallic chaff that Dr. Yoon had specifically designed to resonate at the same frequency as Valthrex shield generators. For 3 seconds, the enemy shields went crazy, fluctuating wildly as they tried to compensate for thousands of false targets. In those 3 seconds, Nam's gun batteries fired everything they had at a single Valthrex ship. The command vessel exploded in a ball of fire. Its destruction caused a chain reaction, taking 2 more ships with it before the Valthrex could adapt. The remaining ships retreated, regrouping beyond Mars's orbit. Nam allowed herself a small smile. They had hurt the enemy. Not much, but enough to prove they could. The victory at Mars bought Earth time, but not much. The Valthrex regrouped and adapted as their computers analyzed what had happened and developed countermeasures. They sent a message to Earth, broadcast on every frequency. "Humans of Earth, your resistance is noted, but pointless. We have offered you a place in our society. You rejected our generosity. Now you will learn the price of defiance. You have 48 hours to surrender all military assets and agree to annexation. If you refuse, we will begin orbital bombardment of your cities. Park Minji watched the message from her workshop, surrounded by Valthrex technology she had been trying to reverse engineer. Her hands shook with rage. These aliens had played friendly, had offered gifts and trade, all while planning to enslave humanity. They had smiled while sharpening their knives. "We won't surrender," she said to no one in particular. "No, we won't," agreed Jinwoo, who had come to check on her progress. "But we can't win either." "Not directly." "Then we cheat," Minji said. "That's what humans do best, right? We break the rules." She pulled up a schematic on her screen, showing the Valthrex blockade formation. They're positioned to stop any ships from leaving Earth or reaching our colonies. Perfect tactical deployment. But look here. She highlighted several gaps in their coverage. These spaces are too small for a ship to pass through without being detected. Their computers calculated that nothing could use these routes. But, Jinwoo prompted, but their computers never considered that someone might be stupid enough to try. If we strip down a ship, remove everything non-essential, we could make it small enough to slip through. It would be dangerous, probably suicidal, but it's possible. Jinwoo studied the plan and laughed. It was absolutely insane. Who's going to fly it? I am, Minji said. I know that engine better than anyone. If something goes wrong, I'm the only one who can fix it on the fly. Where would you go? Past the blockade. To find help, Dr. Yoon found references in the Valthrex data to other species, other civilizations. Some of them hate the Valthrex as much as we do. Maybe we can find allies. It was a desperate plan, but desperation was all they had. Song approved the mission, though it pained him to send people into such danger. The modified ship was ready in 36 hours, stripped down to nothing but engines, life support, and the experimental cloaking device that had saved the horizons. Edge once before, Minji prepared to leave with a crew of 3 volunteers. Jinwoo came to see her off. "Come back," he said simply. "I'll try." She promised. The small ship launched under cover of a coordinated defense exercise. All of Earth's vessels moving at once to create confusion. For a moment, it seemed like it would work. The ship slipped toward the gap in the blockade, invisible to Valthrex sensors. Then one of the alien ships adjusted position, following its pre-programmed patrol route. It moved directly into the gap, blocking the escape route. Minji made a split-second decision. Instead of turning back, she pushed the engines to maximum and flew straight toward the Valthrex vessel. At the last possible moment, she killed all power except life support. The ship went dark and silent, drifting past the alien vessel like a piece of debris. They held their breath for 10 minutes as they coasted beyond the blockade. When they were finally clear, Minji restarted the engines and jumped to FTL. On Earth, the deadline expired. The Valthrex prepared to make good on their threat, charging their weapons to demonstrate their power. Song positioned his fleet between the enemy and Earth, knowing it would not be enough, but he would make them pay for every meter. That was all he could do. Make them pay, and hope that somewhere in the galaxy, someone was willing to help humanity survive. Park Minji's ship drifted through unknown space, its cloaking device the only thing keeping them alive. They had been running for 6 days, following coordinates that Kim Hyun-woo had decoded from the Valthrex files. The data suggested a fallen empire called the Rishani, a civilization that once controlled dozens of star systems before the Valthrex destroyed them. If they even still exist, muttered Oh Minjae, the engineer who had volunteered for this desperate mission. We're betting everything on 50-year-old intelligence. They exist, said Shin Yuna, the medic who served as their navigator. Look at this debris field. These are recent battles, maybe only a few months old. Someone is still fighting. The ship's sensors picked up a massive structure hidden in the shadow of a dead moon. It was a station, heavily damaged but still functional. Defense satellites tracked their approach, weapons locked on their position. "We're being scanned," Minje reported. "Multiple weapon systems are active. Broadcast on all frequencies," Minji ordered. "Tell them we're humans from Earth, and we need to speak with their leaders." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice crackled through their speakers, speaking in a language the translator struggled to process. After several seconds, it rendered the words into Korean. "Humans, we know of you. The Valthrex have declared your world theirs. Why should we care about another species that could not protect itself?" Minji felt anger rise in her throat, but forced it down. This was too important for pride. "Because we hurt them. At Mars, we destroyed 3 of their ships. We're weak, but we fight. And we think you can teach us how to fight better." There was a long silence. Then the weapons powered down. "Dock at Bay 7. Come unarmed. If this is a trick, you will die quickly." The Rishani were not what Minji expected. They looked almost human, with 2 arms and 2 legs, though their skin had a gray tint and their eyes were larger. What struck her most was how tired they looked, like people who had been fighting a losing battle for too long. The leader who met them introduced himself as Elder Yun Mino. He was old, his face lined with scars and worry. He listened as Minji explained Earth's situation, occasionally asking questions, but mostly just watching her with those large, sad eyes. "You destroyed 3 Valthrex ships?" he asked Twinish. "Yes, a command vessel and 2 escorts. How many ships did you lose?" "None. We damaged them from the ground using mining equipment and modified missiles." For the first time, something like interest flickered in Yun's expression. "Show me." Minji pulled up the tactical data from the Mars battle. Yun studied it for several minutes, his fingers tracing the patterns of attack and retreat. When he looked up, something had changed in his face. "You did not fight like the Valthrex expect," he said. "You did not calculate optimal positions or follow standard tactical doctrine. You just attacked from an angle they did not anticipate." "We call it thinking outside the box," Minji said. "We called it desperation," Yun replied. 50 years ago, when the Valthrex came for our worlds, we fought them with superior technology and discipline. We lost. Every battle, we followed the logical approach, and every battle, they defeated us because their computers were better at logic than we were." He gestured around the damaged station. "This is all that remains of our empire. 2,000 survivors, hiding in the ruins." "Then help us," Minji said. "Not because we're strong, but because together we might find a way to hurt them." Yun was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "Your people have something we lost. Hope. Foolish hope, perhaps, but I remember. Or when we had it too. Very well. We will teach you what we know, and perhaps you can teach us how to think like humans." The next 3 weeks were intense. The Rishani opened their archives, sharing everything they had learned about the Valthrex during their long war. Minji and her crew absorbed the information desperately, knowing that every day they spent here was another day Earth stood alone. The Rishani technology was incredible, far beyond what humanity had achieved. But the Valthrex had countered all of it through superior numbers and better computing power. What Yun found fascinating was how humans approached problems differently. "You see this tactical scenario?" Yun showed Minji a simulation of a Valthrex assault pattern. The optimal defense requires positioning forces at these coordinates. The Valthrex computer will calculate this and prepare countermeasures. "What if we don't defend optimally?" Minji asked. "Then you lose faster. Or Minji said, thinking out loud. We make them think we're defending optimally, but actually position our real forces somewhere completely stupid. Someplace their computers would never expect, because it makes no tactical sense. Yun stared at her. That would be ... illogical. Exactly, Minji grinned. Humans are really good at illogical. They began developing hybrid systems, combining Rishani technology with human unpredictability. Weapons that could fire in patterns no algorithm would predict. Shield systems that randomly changed frequencies instead of following optimal harmonics. Ships that deliberately flew in chaotic patterns rather than efficient courses. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was deteriorating. The Valthrex had not yet bombarded the planet, but their blockade was strangling humanity. Food shipments from the colonies had stopped. Resources were running low. Admiral Song's fleet conducted daily skirmishes, trying to keep the enemy off balance, but they were losing ships they could not replace. Commander Nam held Mars, but barely. The Valthrex sent wave after wave of attacks, learning from each defeat. Casualties mounted. The civilian population lived in underground shelters, never seeing the sun. On Earth, resistance cells formed. Former soldier Bei Jisu organized strikes against Valthrex supply depots that had been established in orbit. These attacks were like mosquito bites to an elephant, but they had an important effect. They made the Valthrex think twice about committing all their forces to a direct assault. The Valthrex assigned a new commander to the Earth operation. Overlord Dexver was known for his brutal efficiency. He had conquered 12 worlds for the consortium, always following the same pattern: blockade, bombardment, occupation. He saw the human resistance as an insult that needed to be crushed. You should have accepted our offer, Dexver broadcast to Earth. You would have lived as servants. Now you will die as rebels. I give you one final chance. Surrender within 24 hours, or I will demonstrate what happens to species that defy the consortium. Ambassador Kang Sujin, who had been working frantically through diplomatic channels, received a breakthrough. She discovered that Earth's situation had not gone unnoticed by other galactic powers. The Kelthera Unity and the Dravix Empire were watching carefully, looking for any excuse to challenge Valthrex expansion. They won't help us out of kindness, Kang explained to the Defense Council, but they're concerned about the precedent. If the Valthrex can legally claim any species without territory, then any empire could use the same excuse. It destabilizes the whole galactic order. Can we use this? Asked Captain Jinwoo, who had been coordinating Earth's defense strategy. Maybe, Kang said, but we need proof that the Valthrex are violating existing laws, not just following their own twisted interpretation. Choi Dae-yun, the diplomatic officer, had an idea. What if we force them to overreact? Make them do something so brutal that even their allies would have to condemn it? You're talking about sacrificing people, Song said, his voice hard. I'm talking about making sure their sacrifice means something, Dae-yun replied. Every day we survive is a day we can gather evidence. Every atrocity they commit is another piece of ammunition for our case. It was a terrible plan, but they had no better options. Earth prepared to endure whatever Dexver would throw at them, while Kang worked to build a legal case that might force galactic intervention. Far away, Minji completed her training with the Rishani. Yun gave her weapons, technology, and most importantly, tactical data about Valthrex operations throughout the galaxy. As she prepared to leave, the old alien gripped her shoulder. Go quickly, he said. Your people have survived longer than I expected, but Dexver does not tolerate resistance. He will make an example of Earth. Then we better make an example of him first, Minji replied. The journey home would take 4 days. Minji prayed they had 4 days left. Ambassador Kang Sujin stood before the quantum transmitter, her heart pounding. In her hands, She held evidence of 73 Valthrex violations of galactic sovereignty agreements, painstakingly gathered over the past month. Every illegal annexation, every broken treaty, every species they had enslaved under the guise of their territorial acquisition protocol. "Are you sure about this?" asked Captain Jinwoo, who stood beside her. "Once you broadcast this on open channels, there's no taking it back." "That's the point," Kang replied. She thought of her daughter and Seoul, hiding in underground shelters while alien warships circled overhead. The Valthrex have survived by keeping their crimes quiet. Let's see how they handle the spotlight. She pressed the transmit button. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, the broadcast appeared on every communication network. Kang's face showed on screens, her voice calm but firm as she presented her evidence. She named the species the Valthrex had destroyed. She showed recordings of their demands to Earth, their illegal blockade, their threats of genocide. She ended with a simple statement. "We are human beings from the planet Earth. We will not surrender to tyranny. We will not accept slavery. If we die as free people, and the galaxy will know what the Valthrex truly are." The response was immediate and explosive. The Kelthera Unity issued a formal protest within hours, demanding that the Valthrex withdraw from Earth immediately. The Dravix Empire, sensing an opportunity, began moving its fleets toward Valthrex territory. Even species that had no love for humanity could not ignore such blatant violations of galactic law. Overlord Thexfer was furious. His perfect conquest had turned into a public relations disaster. The consortium leadership ordered him to end the Earth situation quickly and quietly, but Thexfer's pride would not allow retreat. He would crush these humans so thoroughly that no one would dare question Valthrex's power again. "Prepare for full orbital assault," he commanded his fleet. "Target every major city. I want nothing left but rubble." But Earth was not the easy target it had been a month ago. Park Minji had returned with Rishani technology and tactical knowledge. Admiral Song had used that time to retrofit humanity's ships with hybrid weapons that combined human unpredictability with alien engineering. When Thexfer's fleet moved into attack formation, they found Earth's defense had teeth. The battle began at dawn over the Pacific Ocean. Valthrex ships descended through the atmosphere, their weapons charging for bombardment. Song's fleet met them head-on, ships moving in patterns that made no tactical sense, but somehow worked. Human vessels would charge directly at superior forces, fire wildly, then retreat at angles no computer would calculate as optimal. They fight like madmen. One Valthrex captain reported to Thexfer, "Then kill them like madmen." Thexfer replied, but killing them was harder than expected. The Rishani weapons Minji had brought back could punch through Valthrex shields when aimed at specific weak points. More importantly, human pilots refused to follow standard tactics. They took insane risks, pulled impossible maneuvers, and somehow survived through a combination of skill and luck that defied probability. Commander, Nam launched a counterattack from Mars, her forces striking at Valthrex supply lines while they were focused on Earth. She had learned to think like her enemy, to predict their moves, and then do the opposite of what made sense. Her raids destroyed 3 supply depots in 1 week, crippling Thexfer's ability to sustain his assault. Dr. Jung made a critical discovery while analyzing captured Valthrex equipment. All their military operations were coordinated through a central command network, a massive computer system that processed data from thousands of ships simultaneously. It was their greatest strength, allowing perfect coordination. But it was also a vulnerability. If we can disrupt the network, even for a few minutes, their entire fleet would be paralyzed, Yoon explained to the Defense Council. "How do we access it?" Song asked. "We can't, not remotely. Someone would need to physically infiltrate a command station, and upload a virus directly into their core systems. Lieutenant Kim Hyun-woo, who had first discovered the Valthrex threat, volunteered immediately. "I'll do it. It's a suicide mission," Jin-woo warned. "I know," Kim replied. "But if it works, Earth survives. That's enough." The plan was desperate and complex. A small team would allow themselves to be captured, then smuggled onto a Valthrex command station, disguised as prisoners being transferred for interrogation. Kim would carry the virus in a neural implant, hidden where scanners would not detect it. Oh Min-jae and Shin Yuna volunteered to join him. Together, the three of them staged an attack on a Valthrex patrol ship, deliberately losing the fight. They were captured exactly as planned. For 2 days, they endured interrogation while being transported to the command station. The Valthrex wanted to know about Earth's defenses, about the Rishani technology, about human plans. Kim told them nothing, taking beating after beating while his implant remained hidden. On the 3rd day, they reached the station. It was massive, the size of a small moon, housing the computers that coordinated all Valthrex operations in human space. Kim waited for his chance, pretending to be broken and compliant that it came during a transfer between holding cells. A moment of distraction, a guard who turned away. Kim moved faster than he had ever moved in his life, grabbing the guard's access card and running for the nearest computer terminal. Alarms blared immediately. Valthrex soldiers poured into the corridor. Min-jae and Yuna fought them off with stolen weapons, buying precious seconds. Kim's fingers flew across the unfamiliar controls, searching for the upload port. "Kim, hurry!" Min-jae shouted, firing at the advancing soldiers. "Almost there," Kim replied. The virus was uploading, worming its way into the network. 50%. 75%. The guards were getting closer. Yuna went down, shot in the chest. Min-jae screamed her name and kept firing. 90%. Kim felt something slam into his back, pain exploding through his chest. He looked down and saw blood spreading across his uniform. His vision blurred, but he kept his hand on the terminal. 100%. Upload complete. Kim fell to the floor, Min-jae cradling his head. "Did it work?" Kim whispered. "Yes," Min-jae said, tears streaming down his face. "It worked." Kim smiled and closed his eyes for the last time. The virus activated across the entire Valthrex network. For 48 hours, their coordination systems went haywire. Ships lost communication with each other. Weapons targeting systems failed. Shield harmonics fluctuated randomly. The perfect military machine became a chaotic mess. Earth, and its allies struck immediately. Song coordinated with Nam, hitting the Valthrex fleet from multiple directions at once. The Rishani, inspired by human courage, came out of hiding and attacked Valthrex supply routes. The Kelthra Unity, officially neutral, but privately supportive, accidentally on purpose moved their ships into positions that blocked Valthrex. Reinforcements. The battle raged for 2 days. Ships burned in Earth's orbit. Thousands died on both sides. But when the chaos cleared, the Valthrex fleet was in retreat. They had lost 30 ships, including Vexver's flagship, which Admiral Song had personally destroyed in a head-on assault that should have been suicide, but somehow succeeded. The consortium, facing pressure from multiple fronts and watching their perfect conquest turn into a humiliating defeat, called for negotiations. They did not surrender, but they agreed to recognize Earth as a sovereign territory under galactic law. The war was not over, but humanity had survived its first real test. They had proven that they could fight, could adapt, and could make the galaxy take notice. In his quarters, Jin-woo stared at the casualty reports and thought of Kim Hyun-woo, who would never see the peace his sacrifice had bought. "We won't forget," Jin-woo said quietly. Any of you. Outside his window, Earth turned in the darkness. Scarred but free, the peace talks were held on a neutral station operated by the Kelthera Unity. Ambassador Kang Soon sat across from Valthrek's diplomats, who refused to make eye contact, their pride wounded by having to negotiate with species they had considered primitives. The air was thick with tension and unspoken threats. The consortium agrees to recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory, the lead Valthrek's negotiator said, his voice flat. In exchange, you will cease all hostile actions against our forces and return captured technology. No, Kong replied simply. The Valthrek's negotiator's four eyes widened in surprise. You dare refuse our terms? We dare quite a lot, as you've learned, Kong said. She leaned forward, her voice hardening. Here are our terms. You will withdraw all forces from human space immediately. You will pay reparations for the damage you caused to our colonies. You will provide detailed information about your other annexation operations so the galaxy can see the full scope of your crimes. And you will agree to new galactic laws that protect emerging species from exploitation. Impossible. The consortium will never agree to such humiliation. Then we continue fighting, Kong said. She pulled up data on her tablet, showing Valthrek's losses over the past month. You've lost 53 ships fighting humans. The Rishani are raiding your supply lines. The Kelthera are questioning your right to conquered territories. The Draviks are taking advantage of your distraction to seize your border worlds. How much more can the consortium afford to lose over one small planet? The negotiations took 3 weeks. The Valthreks fought for every concession, but the galaxy was watching, and they could not afford to appear weak. Finally, they agreed to most of Earth's demands. It was not total victory, but it was enough. Captain Li Jinwu attended the signing ceremony via video linked from Earth. He watched Kong place her signature on the treaty that recognized humanity's place among the stars. He felt pride, but also exhaustion. The war had cost so much, but the war was not over. On the third day after the treaty was signed, long-range sensors detected a Valthrek's fleet moving toward Earth. Not the official consortium forces, but ships commanded by Overlord Thexver, who had refused to accept the peace agreement. He had gone rogue, gathering ships from officers who shared his hatred for humanity. You think you have won, Thexver's message broadcast across all channels. You have won nothing. You are insects that got lucky. I will show the galaxy what happens to species that defy their betters. I will burn your world to ash. Admiral Song received the warning with grim acceptance. He had known this might happen. Men like Thexver could not accept defeat. They would rather die than admit they were wrong. All ships to defensive positions, Song ordered. This is it. Everything we have. Earth's fleet moved into formation. Park Minji checked her ship's systems one final time, knowing this would be the hardest fight yet. Commander Nam arrived from Mars with every vessel she could spare. The Rishani sent their remaining ships, old and damaged but crewed by people who understood what this battle meant. Governor Han Jian evacuated civilians on New Seoul to underground shelters. She broadcast a message to all the colonies, her voice steady despite her fear. Whatever happens today, remember that we chose to stand. We chose to fight. No matter the outcome, we are free. Thexver's fleet numbered 80 ships, the last loyal forces of a disgraced overlord determined to restore his honor through genocide. They dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system and began their advance. Thexver himself commanded from his rebuilt flagship, a massive warship designed to destroy planets. The battle began at Jupiter. Song had positioned a defensive line there, using the planet's gravity well to his advantage. The two fleets clashed in a fury of energy weapons and missile fire. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but they were still outmatched. One by one, they fell. "Pull back to Mars," Song ordered as his line collapsed. "We'll make another stand there." But Thexfer had learned from his previous failures. He split his fleet, sending half to engage the defenders at Mars, while he led the other half directly toward Earth. It was a killing blow. Earth's remaining defenses could not stop him. On Earth, Dr. Yoon Seo-jin worked frantically on a last desperate gambit. He had been studying the Orbital Defense Network, old satellites designed to intercept asteroids. Individually, they were useless against Valthrek's shields. But if he could synchronize them all to fire simultaneously, focusing their beams on a single point. "It's crazy," said Oh Min-jae, who had survived the command station mission. "Even if it works, you only get one shot." "Then we better make it count," Yoon replied. Thexfer's flagship broke through the outer defenses. Mars had fallen. Song's fleet was scattered. Nothing stood between the Overlord and Earth except a few dozen patrol ships and the defense satellites. Captain Jinwoo took command of the Horizon's Edge, the ship that had started this whole journey. His crew was exhausted, his vessel damaged, but he would not let Earth die without a fight. He positioned himself directly in Thexfer's path. "Move aside, human." Thexfer's voice crackled through the com. "Your war is over." "No," Jinwoo replied. "It's just beginning." He fired every weapon his ship had, knowing it would not be enough. Thexfer's shields absorbed the assault easily. The flagship's weapons charged, preparing to vaporize the Horizon's Edge and then continue on to Earth. Now! Yoon screamed from his control center on Earth. Not every defense satellite in orbit fired at once, their beams converging on a single point on Thexfer's flagship. The shields held for 3 seconds. Then they collapsed. The beams burned through armor, through bulkheads, through the ship's core, but it was not enough to destroy the flagship. Thexfer's ship was wounded, but still functional, still able to bombard Earth. The Overlord laughed, a sound of pure hate. "You cannot stop me," he said. Jinwoo made his decision in an instant. He thought of his sister, of all the children who deserved to grow up free. He thought of Kim Hyunwoo, who had given everything for this moment. "Minji," he said calmly, "evacuate the crew." "Captain, no, that's an order. Everyone off. Now." Park Minji understood immediately. Tears streaming down her face, she ordered the evacuation. The crew fled to escape pods while Jinwoo stayed at the helm, pushing the engines to maximum. The Horizon's Edge accelerated toward Thexfer's flagship. The Overlord saw what was happening and tried to evade, but his damaged ship was too slow. Jinwoo calculated the angle perfectly, aiming for the exact spot where Yoon's satellites had weakened the armor. In his last moment, Jinwoo thought of the stars and how beautiful they looked without the shadow of tyrants. The Horizon's Edge struck the flagship at full speed. The impact triggered a matter-antimatter explosion that lit up space like a newborn sun. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Overlord Thexfer, the Butcher of 12 Worlds, was dead. The remaining Valthrek's forces fled. Without their leader and their flagship, they had no stomach for continued fight. Earth was saved. The price was heavy. 10,000 dead, including Captain Lee Jinwoo, hero of humanity's first war. Memorial services were held across every human world. Jinwoo's sacrifice became legend, the story told to children about the man who flew into fire to save them all. 5 years passed. Earth rebuilt stronger than before. The Rishani formed a permanent alliance, teaching humans advanced technology in exchange for human tactical innovation. Other species that had suffered under Valthrek's oppression reached out, forming a coalition dedicated to protecting smaller civilizations. Park Minji became chief engineer of humanity's first true warship, the Jinwoo, named for the captain who gave everything. Admiral Song led the Galactic Defense Initiative, a multi-species force committed to preventing future annexations. Ambassador. Kang established human embassies across dozens of worlds, ensuring humanity's voice was heard. Commander Nam became governor of the Mars colony, rebuilding it into a thriving world. Dr. Yoon's discoveries revolutionized human technology, leading to advances in medicine, energy, and space travel. Earth's colonies flourished, expanding to new systems under the protection of treaties Kang had negotiated. The Valthrex Consortium still existed, but they were diminished, forced to follow galactic law under constant scrutiny. They never again attempted to annex an emerging species. The cost of fighting humanity had taught them a lesson they would not forget. A memorial was built in Seoul, a towering statue of the horizon's edge flying toward the stars. The inscription read, "They fought not just for Earth, but for the principle that no species should be enslaved by another. Their sacrifice lit a fire that will burn across the stars." Governor Han stood before the memorial on the anniversary of the final battle, addressing a crowd of thousands. Human and alien faces looked up at her, united in remembrance. 5 years ago, we were alone and afraid, Han said. We faced an enemy that thought we were nothing more than resources to exploit. They were wrong. We showed the galaxy that humanity will never bow, never surrender, and never accept tyranny. We paid for our freedom in blood, but we paid it willingly. She looked up at the statue of the horizon's edge, thinking of Jinwoo and all those who fell beside him. They gave us tomorrow. Now it's our responsibility to make sure their sacrifice meant something. We build a galaxy where species are judged by their character, not their military power. Where emerging civilizations are protected, not exploited. Where the strong defend the weak instead of preying on them. The crowd cheered. In orbit, the Jinwoo passed overhead, its running lights visible even in daylight. Humanity had survived its first test on the galactic stage. They had learned that the universe was dangerous, but they had also learned that they were not helpless. Park Minji stood on the bridge of the Jinwoo, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, new civilizations were discovering faster-than-light travel, taking their first steps into the galaxy. Some would face threats like Earth had faced. But now humanity was watching, ready to help. Where to next? Asked her first officer. Minji smiled. Wherever we're needed. The ship turned toward the stars, carrying humanity's promise. Never again would the weak stand alone against the strong. Earth had fought for its survival and won its freedom. Now it would help others do the same. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, scarred but unbroken, and they were here to stay.